Hello everybody! Today I'm going to show you how to play the board game Vojvodina. This is a game for 2 to 4 players and it lasts between 30 to 60 minutes. So let's get started. At the beginning of the game setup, every player will receive one bonus explanation card and one card in the player's color. In my case, I will receive the red player card. The players next to me will receive green and yellow. After that, every player receives 2 field tiles with 2 fields on them. Next, the remaining field tiles are put right next to the playing area on a pile, as well as the uncultivated field markers. Place the coins on the other part of the playing area, after which the first player marker is given to one player. Who's going to be the first player is actually decided between the players themselves. So for instance, I will be the first player for this round. After that, each player places their map piece, starting with the first player, in the middle of the playing area. But while we're placing map pieces, we have to follow a certain set of rules. So each map piece has to be connected in at least 2 places. For instance, these 2 map pieces. So, for instance, this map piece, it can be connected like this, where we have 4 edges connected, or like this, where we have 2 edges connected, but it cannot be connected with only 1 edge. For instance, this won't work. So here we go, let's place it like this, for instance. And that will be our map for this round. Next, we take the town card deck, shuffle it, and deal each player 6 cards. We leave the rest of the cards on the main playing area because that will become our discard deck. The game is played in a certain number of rounds. The number of rounds is determined by the number of players. Each round, players have 6 turns, and for each turn, they can decide between 2 actions. One of the actions players can take is they can take the cards they received, look at them, and choose one card they would like to discard. For instance, I would like to discard this one, and put it on the discard pile. After discarding a certain card, the player has the right to take 1 field tile from the common pile and place it in front of him, and that is a completed action. The second action a player can take is keeping cards. We take the cards from our hand, and as you can see, in the top left corner, every card has a symbol. This symbol represents the region which this town is from. Right next to it, we have the town's name, and in the bottom left corner, we have the grain demand value. In other words, how much grain is needed to supply the town's markets. And in the bottom right corner, we have how much money we will earn if we manage to supply the town markets. So, in this case, I decide which card I want to keep. And for instance, I want to keep this one. I put it aside, and because I decided to keep a card, I have the right to place 1 field tile on the map. While placing field tiles, we have to be careful because we have to follow certain rules. The field tiles must not overlap, they cannot go beyond the map, and they must completely cover the squares on the map. So it cannot be placed like this, it must be placed like this. Or in my case, I would like to place it like this. And that is one action. After finishing an action, in other words, after discarding or keeping a card, the rest of your cards are passed over to the player on your left. And if you were the first player, then pass over the first player marker to the player on your left as well. Keep on doing this until all the players have used up all their cards, after which we play the harvest and supply phase. During the harvest and supply phase, each player has to count the number of fields they have covered with their field tiles. So I have covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, giving me 9 grain. But because none of my field tiles are connected, I will have only 9 grain, unlike the green player who will receive a bonus, because when field tiles are connected, such as the green ones are, then you get bonus points. So I have 9 grain. After we've counted the total amount of grain we won from our fields, then we turn over our town cards. We check the bottom left corner for the grain demand value symbol, and we see the numbers written on the cards. By adding them, we actually see how much grain was needed to supply our town markets. And because I need 9 grain and I want 9 grain, that means I supplied my town markets, which means I have the right to look at the bottom right corner and check how many points I've won. In this case, I've won 17 points and an additional 2 points because I have 3 different towns from 3 different regions, which I see from the symbols in the top left corner. Then I take 19 coins from the coin pile, but I flip them over because I don't want other players to see how many coins I've won. Now we will count how much grain the green player will win. Because he has 3 connected tiles in 10 fields, he will receive 12 grain. Now we turn over his cards, and as we can see, in the bottom left corners, he needs 13 grain to supply his town markets. But because he has only 12, that means he has not reached the demand. In this case, the player has to decide which card he will not supply, or what town he will not supply. I will choose this card, this town, leaving me with only 2 cards that I can receive points from. And instead of receiving 20 points, I will receive only 15 because I will take away these 5 points I lost here. And as well, I will not receive the bonus for 3 different towns because I didn't meet the supply for all 3 towns, leaving me with 15 points. I take from the coin pile, and then I turn them over. After all the players have finished counting the money they received in the last round, then it's time to place the uncultivated field tiles on every empty place on the map. The last player, who was the first player, passes over the first player marker to the player on his left. And now he will become the first player in the next round. At the beginning of the second round, all the players receive another 6 cards. And this time, all the rules remain the same, except for one small difference. While placing field tiles, players must pay for each field marker, uncultivated field marker, they want to remove. So for instance, I want to place my field tile here, but I have 2 field markers, uncultivated field markers, that are in my way. In this case, I would have to pay 4 coins. Here, I paid 4 coins to remove these uncultivated field markers and place my tile. That's the only difference. After the harvest and supply phase in the last round, all the players count their total amount of money. The player with the most money is the winner. And if it happens that 2 or more players have the same amount of money, well, in that case, they share their victory. And that's how the game ends.